The South African Defence Force has come under much scrutiny in the last few months as it sustained fatalities and casualties during its peacekeeping operations in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The SNDF has about 70,000 personnel and boots on the ground, both domestically and across the region.
It's not just 2,000, 3,000 troops in the Congo, or before that Mozambique. It's also doing the Zama stuff in support of the police, protecting power stations, being called out when there's a strike, dealing with sewage outlets, building bridges in the Eastern Cape and elsewhere. It's not going to work much longer. The bottom line is there's a limit to how much you can stretch something before it breaks.
Over the past 5 years, South Africa has slashed its military spending by 9 billion rand.
In South Africa, on 10 October 2024, the South African Portfolio Committee on Defence and Military Veterans raised a concern on its press release. It raised a concern about budget cuts in South Africa on the South African National Defence Force.
South Africa's military spending is among the lowest in its GDP category. Countries with similar economies, such as Colombia, Chile and Singapore, spend 3 to 5 times more on defence.
We hope that the Department of National Treasury and the Cabinet will rearrange some of the priorities. Remember that the government of South Africa, especially the previous 6 administration, since 1998, they focus more on social security as opposed to military security. And as a result of that, the defunding of the Defence Force began. But I'm happy that President Cyril Ramaphosa had publicly said we are going to move away from 0.57% of the GDP to 1.7% of the GDP. That should help our Defence Force.
When we did the Defence Review starting in 2011, at that point the Defence Force was about 50% underfunded. And it's just gotten a hell of a lot worse ever since. If you take the 2012 defence budget, about 35 million or so, then by now we should be spending close to 100 billion to be getting, if it was 50% underfunded then, and inflation. Then you add all the jobs that the government keeps giving to the Defence Force.
The shrinking budget has led to concerns over military readiness, equipment maintenance and operational capacity.
Most of the Air Force's aircraft are not operational, are grounded. Most of the Navy's ships are alongside and can't operate. They're probably safe to go to sea, but they can't operate. And if you go to the Army, I think you'll find much the same with the bulk of the heavy equipment. And that spills over into things like training. If your aircraft aren't operational, your pilots can't fly enough to stay really current with their systems and their aircraft. And ships, crews, for instance, don't gel as a crew. Every individual member is perfectly trained for his post. But if a ship doesn't physically go to sea and operate, they don't start to learn together as a crew. If you take it a step further, the Gripen fighters, for instance, they've got no standoff weapons, they've got no anti-radar weapons, they've got no beyond visual range air-to-air weapons. The Rooivalk doesn't have a precision weapon, it's only got rockets and a 20mm cannon.
South Africa Defence Force has been stretched in its deployments. Remember, deployments for peace operations are very costly, but also deployments in South Africa themselves are also very costly.
Hasina Gori, SABC News, Johannesburg.